Yes, we are live. We made it. I was having some tech issues, but it's all good now. So, welcome to February's Biz Training. We are going to be talking about entering your zone of genius for your business, inspired, of course, by Aquarius, one of my favorite of all energies. And as I was preparing this, I realized that this is like the whole mission of my business. It's actually 11:11 right now. Amazing. Right when I started. So this is something that I feel super passionate about and just beyond excited to share with you guys. So let me know if you are here. And I will keep up with comments as we go along. That way, if you feel like asking questions or sharing something as we go, you can totally do that. Let me just make sure that the slides are visible, because I remember last time they were a little hard to see. So, yeah, I'm just going to wait for maybe a couple people to join in, although I know that this time of day and weekend, it's probably a time where you get to sleep in and chill, and that's fine. So you can always catch the replay. All right, so here we are. I'm going to just actually go into full screen here. So let me see it. And this is, again, inspired by Aquarius. Okay, so what is the zone of genius? Why are we talking about this? Why is it so important to tap into it for our businesses, especially as business owners of the new age? So this morning when I woke up, this popped into my head, and I was like, awesome. So to me, being a genius and entering your zone of genius is about genuinely expressing the natural insight of your unique soul. So that was something that just came through this morning, and it was the first thing that came to my head when I woke up, and that's when I usually get very clear messages from my guides. And I always take those very seriously, especially the first thing that comes into my head in the morning. So that's going to be the theme of this entire business training. It's about this acronym for genius, genuinely expressing the natural insight of your unique soul. And I put a picture here of my kind of interpretation of the round table of the zodiac wheel, which is all about the virtues of each of the signs. And I put a woman here at the center who looks to me that she's really channeling and expressing on the outside of her being what she feels and how her soul interprets her experience on the inside. And, you know, when you just to put it into kind of context for the rest of this class, because we will be talking astrology, we will be looking at some placements on your chart, and I recommend just listening through first, and then maybe later on printing out your chart or looking at it and going back to look at the various placements that I'll be bringing up. But just remember that you're at the center of this beautiful mandala, and how your chart is set up, the sacred geometry of your chart is completely unique to you. So always, you know, remember that. And your chart is kind of like your GPS. It will always guide you back to your truth. And as we move through time and as the planets continue moving and we experience all different phases and cycles of our soul and of our world and of our life together, your unique natal chart is always going to, again, be there to help you remember why you came, right? It's really a representation, a visual representation of your soul contract. So genuinely expressing the natural insight of your unique soul, being a genius in that way, is all about expressing outwardly what is naturally within you. Okay, so we're going to talk about the zone of comfort and what that might be presenting as in terms of your business versus the zone of genius, which of course I'm here to really help you step into your zone of genius, to activate it, and to not just that, but to really, really proudly wave that freak flag of yours, which we all have our own, and really step into that zone of genius, while at the same time you're naturally going to be busting out of your comfort zone, because that's just how it works. You can't be your creative genius self and your full genius self, expressing your unique self, if you're in your comfort zone. So what is our zone of comfort? And I think that this is something that we all, to a degree, have, and in different areas maybe of our lives and of our business, we tend to stick more within our comfort zone. And this actually goes back to our training on shadow work. I think it's all connected, of course. We're evolving through the zodiac wheel, where each of the signs are a continuation, right? So it's like during Scorpio season, we spoke about shadow work for entrepreneurs. Then we moved into Sagittarius season and teachings. And I forgot what we spoke about for that. I forgot what our business training was. I think it was, using joy, working with joy, inner joy, to activate our 5D business and to enter into the 5D consciousness. And then we went into structure and building with Capricorn. And now here we are at Aquarius, where we're taking all of that, shadow work that we did, and then the inner joy that we cultivated, and then, building that solid foundation for ourselves with Capricorn. And now we're really able to come out and express ourselves in the most unique possible way, because we know who we are and we have set ourselves up for success. So this is the time where we really need to break out of our comfort zone. So our comfort zone in our business is where we feel safe stasis, where we're kind of staying the same. Maybe we're not going up or down, but we're really just plateauing, right? So a lot of times people have that with their income. They'll reach like a certain income plateau, and then for whatever reason, it will be really hard for them to move past it. Sometimes that will happen with your creative expression, or ideas. We get into creative ruts sometimes, and we can't think in new and different ways. So that might present itself in all different ways for you, but you're really thinking about where are you kind of playing it safe and staying the same. That would be definitely an indicator that you're in your comfort zone versus your zone of creativity. Mediocrity is another one. Mediocrity is where you feel in your business that you're just it's not super exciting, it's not super challenging, and you just feel like it's good, but it's not really, really turning you on. So mediocrity is really the bane of Aquarians' energy and existence. It's all about really, really, again, activating that genius and finding the things that you really care about and are very passionate about, and then expressing them in a really hardcore way. So we'll talk about that more later. Blending in as well. So if you feel like you're kind of just blending in on the online space, and even if you're challenging yourself, even if you're saying things that are coming from within your soul, and you're posting things that are unique to you, but you still feel like you're blending in, then that is a level of comfort zone that you're staying there for whatever reason. So it's interesting in the online space. I find that, there are definitely trends that happen with posts, especially in coaching and healing and things like that. It seems like everybody kind of feeds off of each other's energy, which is totally natural and normal and good. But at the same time, and we'll talk about this in a little bit when I go into the traps of the online business space, we sometimes I think become influenced by other people's content, and it's just that we're in such a community, and that's a great thing. But at the same time, we have to always remember that it's not really helping or serving anybody to be repeating what another person said, or just recycling, what everybody else is talking about, but rather really coming out and saying things, even if you think it's going to be controversial, even if you think it's weird, even if you think you shouldn't be talking about that because it's not professional, etc. The only reason you'll ever be blending in is because to a certain degree, you're playing it safe and you are not really activating your own inner genius, which is about your unique insight. So take some time and take some real self-trust, which we're going to go into. And we'll have some help, of course, from our birth charts. The zone of comfort is often also where you experience uncertainty that is tied to non-action. So there's that, like hesitation or analysis paralysis where you don't know what to do, so you just kind of don't do anything. That's definitely a comfort zone syndrome, and we want to definitely blast past that, because really within your soul you know exactly what to do, and it's just the way that society has been set up and the way that we've been programmed to think that we always have to look around for approval and for permission to be ourselves. But we're never going to get permission to be ourselves from anybody other than ourselves. And of course, following the rules. There are lots of rules being tossed around left and right all day, every day, all night, every night on the online space. It's a marketing issue, I think, really. I mean, I don't know if it's an issue. Well, it's like a marketing phenomenon that everybody is coming out to teach their way. And we have to be really mindful and conscious of the rules that we adhere to. They're all trickling down from high up, and everybody who works with a coach, everybody who has taken programs, etc., a lot of times they are basically repeating information that they got from others. And it's really interesting because, like, sometimes I'll read somebody's posts and I'll be like, wow, that's really cool. But then I'll, like, this happened recently, like, I really resonated, but then I saw her coach and I saw that, like, she was basically just literally copying her coach's whole concept. And I was like, wow, so it's just interesting to think about, where that information is coming from, where those rules are stemming, and, choosing for yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to completely not have anything, not have any rules, but the main thing is, again, expressing it and choosing the rules that really resonate with you and your soul and your mission. So we're really becoming conscious of what we take on and what we adhere to in our business in order to get out of that comfort zone, because ultimately the comfort zone does not serve anybody. Hey, Hannah, I see you there. If you could just let me know if you can see and hear everything well, that would be really helpful. I just started a couple of minutes ago. I was a little late because of tech issues, but we're talking about entering your zone of genius with Aquarius for your business. So zone of genius is the opposite of the zone of comfort. This is where you're super creative, and that's an active energy expression where you don't have to necessarily be creative in terms of like an artistic, like painting type of creative person, but you are a creator. You are somebody who is actively making new things, new creations on a regular basis. Like, that is your natural state. Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. You also have direct insights, direct intuitive insights from your soul, from your spirit team, from the universe, and from basically everything all around you in your zone of genius. It's kind of like you're fully awake and aware, and all of your senses are engaged. And because you are being so true to yourself, because you are permitting yourself to fully express your genius, and back to that acronym of genius, which is genuinely expressing your natural insight of your unique soul. When you do that, the insights become very direct and very clear because there's nothing there clouding them. There's no external noise or distractive forces that are basically leading to that kind of tug of war where it's like, do I trust myself or do I follow the leader? Those direct insights, I put the little lightning bolt because Aquarius is all about flashes of lightning and you know, having those electrical moments where it's like, aha, like, whoa, oh my gosh. And we can't have those when we're in our comfort zone, when we are too afraid, when we're kind of like hiding behind fear. And then also in your zone of genius, you're really, really connected to the whole. Aquarius overall is very much tied to the whole, to, you know, the web of life. And in your zone of genius, you're naturally connected through this really bigger picture consciousness, that you recognize that you are here on a certain mission as part of the greater good. And it's about having your own identity and a really strong form of self-expression and individuality that is part of the greater whole and that is reinforced by the greater whole rather than blending into the whole or you know, just following along with the whole. So while Aquarian energy is very rebellious, revolutionary, all about doing its own thing, it's all for the sake of the greater good. It's not just rebellion for sheer like anarchy purposes or destructive purposes. It's for a very humanitarian, building, creative, positive purposes. So in your zone of genius, you will always feel, if we look back, I'll just go back up, you know, you are here in the center of the greater whole, where everything else that's happening in the world, you are tied to in beautiful, intricate ways that I really believe that when you do enter that zone of genius and express yourself truly, it's just reinforced more and more. And that's why synchronicities happen. That's why those insights happen. That's why your intuition gets strengthened. And the ideas and the downloads come to you because you are so connected to all that is. This is also, the zone of genius is also very much mission oriented. So that kind of connects to the one I was just talking about, connection to the whole, but you're really on a mission here. And again, your birth chart is a soul contract. It's all about why you came, why you incarnated at this time, specifically with this body, with this life, with this reality, with this family. And you're on a mission. And Aquarians are really hardcore. If you've met people who have a very strong Aquarius, whether it's their sun or it's their rising sign, or if they just have a lot of energy and planets in Aquarius. I always think of Dr. Bronner from Dr. Bronner's soap company. And if you have not seen the documentary, I think it's called like The Magic Soap Box. Such a cool documentary. And he was an Aquarian, and he was not just a sun in Aquarius person, but he was like a true Aquarian and a visionary. And he started making soap way back when. He's passed on now, but his vision for his company was really, really revolutionary. And it was all about the greater good, and it was about giving workers fair rights and equal rights and shares in the company. And I mean, if you look at the bottle, if you've ever had Dr. Bronner soap, it's covered, the entire label is covered with like his writings and his ideas about like the world and how human beings can improve our situation. And he put that on the labels of the soap. And when it first came out, people just thought he was insane. I mean, now it's like super popular. I'm sure their company is like huge at this point. I know his son runs it. But he was on a mission. Like he really, really was on a mission. And he used his company and his soap as a vehicle for his greater mission, which is now living on way past his lifetime. So in your zone of genius, you know your mission, and that is the guiding force of everything that you do. You're not just doing things haphazardly, and you're not wavering, because nobody can stop you from your mission, right? Like if somebody is out at like on a quest or whatever, or like going to do something, like think about it, like when you're on a mission to like buy something at the store, and it's like you know exactly what you want, you know what aisle it's at, and you're gonna go get it because you need to get home in time or whatever. Nothing can stop you, and that's how you really have to be in your work as well. You've got to know what it is you're here for, what you're doing, and that's unique to you, and then just get hyper focused on that. And if you don't know your mission yet, that's okay, but make it your mission to know your mission. And then lastly, in your zone of genius, you're confident to the core because, again, you know your mission. Nothing can stand in your way. Nothing can trick you or distract you. And you trust fully, again, you have your birth chart in your hand and you see that, this was all by design, that this was not accidental, that this was not, haphazard or by chance, that everything that you've experienced so far and everything that you are experiencing is by design to help you share your gift and to fulfill your role in your mission. So that gives you great confidence because you know that you're here for something and that the universe has equipped you with all that you need already within you. And that means how you think, how you speak, how you connect with people, how you look physically, everything that is, going on around you, etc. All of that is by design, and that gives you great confidence. So these are some of the attributes of the zone of genius, which of course we all want to step into so that we can really share our gifts. So this is a quote that I think about a lot, and it really pierced me the first time I ever heard it. As you might have noticed, if you've been hanging out with me for long enough, I'm a very big fan of Anais Nin. She's my most quoted human. And this is one of the quotes that I think it touches on something so powerful. And the first time I heard it and read it, I was like, wow, I kind of felt like borderline, offended / intrigued / holy crap, wow. And I think about it literally probably every day of my life. So if you do not breathe through writing, if you do not cry out in writing or sing in writing, then don't write because our culture has no use for it. So Anais Nin was a writer, of course, but you can replace the word writing with whatever it is that you're doing. If it's, anything in your business, if you're a healer, if you're an herbalist, if you're an astrologer, if you're a marketer, if you're a designer, etc. If you're not obsessed with it to the point that this is your breathing, that this is what you live for, and that makes you cry out and that makes you sing, then don't do it because our culture has no use for it, meaning that this is about the greater collective. How many people out there are just doing things because they're just doing it, right? And you can just tell. You can tell when somebody is really in alignment with their soul purpose versus somebody who's kind of just doing it because they fell into it or because they feel like they need to or because they think it's cool, etc. And I admit this is a very Aquarius, this is a really hardcore stance, and it's very piercing. Like I said, it's really it's kind of almost, it could be borderline offensive, I think, because, we're so taught to just be kind of kumbaya, where everybody gets to just do whatever they want and everything, and to respect that. And I'm not judging another person to say they shouldn't be doing that, but it's more of a standard for ourselves, right? So I would never judge another person on it, but I think that this is something that we all need to think about and make this kind of our standard. And that can go for anything, it could go for how you make a sales page. It could go for how you run your business in terms of, the people you're working with, the ideal client, or the things that you're creating, if it's not really, really coming from within your soul and activating you on all levels of your being, then is it really helping? Is it really contributing? Because if not, then there's something else there that you're really here to do. And I just think it's such a potent thing to think about, because in our zone of genius, like that is the zone of genius, is when we are breathing through our work, we are crying out and singing, and we are creating something that our culture has so much use for. That is, to take it to the positive, that is really, really having that ripple effect that this is all about, where it's like when we really express ourselves and when we really do what we love and believe in so much, then we give others that inspiration and, kind of like the permission, even though we each have to give our own selves the permission. But when we see somebody else really living their truth, it inspires us to do the same. And also just, the quality of the work, like when you're really doing something from your soul, and this is what I think Anais was referring to. We're on a first name basis here, but what I think she was referring to is like the quality of the work, is so much greater and so much more powerful and potent when it comes from that deep place inside where it's our mission, right? Okay. So we're all here in the online business space, and I, for one, I've noticed that there are a lot of traps of the online business world that can lead to comfort zone businesses. And like I said earlier, I think to a certain degree, we all have parts of our business and our life where we're in the comfort zone, and parts where we are more in our zone of genius. And to me, a comfort zone business is where you are not really, you yourself are not even lit up by your own business. You yourself are like not fully thrilled, and you don't feel that what you are doing and what you are creating is up to par for your mission, for your soul, right? So a lot of times we see, things in the online space that are one size fits all. There's courses out there that are basically teaching the same techniques and the same marketing tools and things like that for everybody. We fall into comparisonitis a lot, because all day, being an online entrepreneur requires us to be online, and it's social media. So a lot of times we're just reading other people's posts, and that leads to comparisonitis. We think that we have to compare our success and our progress and our work and our offerings and our contribution to other people's. Formulas that claim to make millions and the income report fad. So I, for sure, I see a lot of posts every day about how much money somebody has made and how they did it and how many followers they have and things like that. And on the one hand, it's inspiring. It has definitely inspired me a lot to see what's possible. And I think that's why most people do it. And I don't think that any of these things, by the way, are done like malevolently or anything. It's just the nature of the beast, where, somebody comes on and she's made $10,000, which is wonderful and so inspiring. But then, it kind of creates that like standard or whatever where we feel like that has to be our reality, and that has to be our definition of success, and that has to be what we have to do to get there, because when we see that, it is a marketing technique at the end of the day, to sell her products, right? And so we think that, hey, maybe I need to do those steps, and maybe I could just pay her to just finally learn exactly what I need to do to be able to have success. So that's just, again, another one of the traps that leads to us being in the comfort zone, because we I think that what happens a lot of times, and this is generalization, but I think that a lot of times we feel like we can't do that unless we do it that same way, right? And then we just end up in that state of like inaction or paralysis where we're just constantly being bombarded by everybody else's techniques and everybody else's stories and what has worked for them. But like, what if that doesn't resonate with me? What if that feels weird to me, or that feels like I have major resistance, not just because, not from like that place of like, I want to stay in my safe comfort zone, but more like, I really don't want to do that because that like makes my skin crawl, and like, I just don't resonate with that, and I can't like force myself to do it. So these types of issues come up, right? Like, there are a lot of patriarchal marketing techniques that are masked as spiritual, like spiritual marketing, that they definitely play on our fears. They definitely play on our weaknesses and our like insecurities. And to a certain degree, I recognize, I'm in marketing. I know that we have to speak to our clients' pain points. I know that we have to speak to people's desires, but there's a really big difference between that and like forcefully kind of like prodding people in places that hurt, and like using techniques that are rooted in old age business that really take away people's like feeling of like choice in the matter, and again, that goes back to the rules. Like, where are these rules all coming from? Where are these techniques and these approaches, where are they stemming from? And do I really want to take them into my being and my business? So whether those lead you to taking action that really isn't in alignment, or they lead you to just freezing because you feel like, well, I'm definitely not going to do that, but then what do I do? It's just that constant seeing other people telling you in this really authoritative, very kind of like strong way what you should be doing in order to succeed. That's, I think, a really big challenge that I have faced personally, just being in the online space. It's almost like you have to learn how to navigate it and how to tune out the noise and still be part of the community, and still be selling and marketing in ways that feel good to you. So if you're feeling any of those things, like, you're totally not alone, and it's okay to talk about it. And this is one of the great lessons or truths that has come through for me over the past couple of weeks, as I've been tuning in more and more to my own self for my business. This is like one of the channelings that came through for me, and it's, if it works for you, it works. And that's like my new mantra. If it works for me, it works. I don't have to do things that work for everybody else. But if it works for me and my unique specific soul and my unique specific reality, then it works, and I don't need to make everything so complicated. Because for a really long time, what I was doing was I had like a certain external definition of what success was, and what like a successful and like functioning business looked like. But I wasn't taking into account, the fact that I'm a mom, and the fact that, I'm married, and, various things, and that, let alone my inner world of like what I really resonate with and like what I need on a soul level. And I just let go of all of that. And I started to realize that if it works for me, if at the end of the day I feel good and I feel like I have succeeded in my mission, then it works. And that is, of course, going to be based on what works for you. And you have to define what works for you. But I just wanted to share that mantra because I know that being in the online space every day, we can get, it's almost like hanging out in one big infomercial like 24/7. And just remember that you don't have to subscribe to any of that. If it works for you, it works. So if going on, if creating an offering that you only show up once a month, or if you want to work certain times of the month and not others, and that's radically different from the norm. If you want to take off every new and full moon, if you want to, sell in a certain way, if it works for you, it works. So let's look at where are you now on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you now in terms of your zone of comfort and your zone of genius on a daily basis? Are you functioning? Are you feeling like you're comfortably numb, which would be a 1? And Hannah, if you want to chime in on this, please do. Do you feel like your actions on a daily basis within your business are comfortably numb, meaning you're kind of just like playing the part, you're kind of just like doing the motions, but you don't feel like it's really a true expression of your genius? 10 being radically, genuinely expressing the natural insight of your unique soul. And that is everything, meaning in everything that you're doing, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So even in like the most seemingly mundane thing, like how you organize your computer files, or how you, respond to people, or how you navigate the rhythm of your day, rating from 1 to 10, where do you fall right now? And the reason we want to do this is because for your own self-reflection, as you grow and as you start focusing on this, and just by being here and tuning in now and like making this a priority for you, it's going to start shifting things within yourself. But go ahead and give yourself a number. And you might want to do this every day. You might want to rate yourself every day, at the end of the day, maybe, just to check in and see, am I functioning on like autopilot, or am I really putting my own soul expression as a top priority in my work? Awesome. So Hannah said 5-ish, probably closer to 3 or 4. Okay, so that's really great that you are in tune with that. And I love that. I mean, I think that it's something that might change different days, different times. We feel a little more emboldened, we feel a little more supported, but it is possible for you to be at an 8, 9, or 10, or even a 7, on a more frequent basis, if you want that. So Aquarius energy is in resonance with the universal zone of genius. So each of the signs, as we know, is kind of like a different note on the great cosmic piano or something, or whatever instrument you like. Harp, maybe. I love the Celtic harp. It's my favorite instrument. And each of these signs carry within it like a certain resonance, a certain energetic frequency of truth, of divine truth. And Aquarius is the one that's in resonance with the zone of genius, which is the zone of genius of the universe. And this just came through for me today. It's kind of, I hope I explain it in a way that does it justice. But the universal zone of genius is that every creation, every piece of the microcosm carries the macrocosm within it. So it's kind of like if you and I and everything in the world, every being, every person, every animal, every stone, every flower, every drop of water, we all carry within us, we all have encoded within us the greater universal truths and the greater universal wisdom of creativity, of genius, of the ability to express ourselves in ways that are highly, highly, supremely creative. So Aquarius is by nature all about recognizing that you are the divine in motion. You have within you that imprint in a unique way, like looking at your birth chart again, that's just who you are. That's your essence, you know, by virtue of being a human being, being a spiritual being in this human life world. We are each already a direct expression of all that is, and we don't need to really do anything. We just need to express it. So it's more about like peeling away the layers and layers of you know, programming and you know, external forces that come along to try to take that from us. So I'll just read it again. Aquarius energy is in resonance with the universal zone of genius, which is that each creation carries within it the whole. That's why Aquarius rules astrology, because that's essentially the whole like gist of astrology, as above, so below. And this is very empowering to you. So let's look at some of the keywords of Aquarius, because now we're going to move into how to actually work with your chart, work with astrology to support you in activating your zone of genius. So Aquarius is about liberation. It's about freeing ourselves. You know, before Aquarius was Capricorn, which is all about structure and boundary, but then Uranus, which is the ruling planet of Aquarius in modern day, was discovered, and it was like a totally revolutionary thing, and it was like out of nowhere, and like the astronomers were like in total shock and like couldn't even believe it, because for a very long time Saturn was the end. Saturn rules Capricorn, and that was like, they perceived Saturn as like the end of the solar system. Like that was it. That was like as far as humans could perceive. But then, you know, Uranus was discovered, and it was around the time of the Industrial Revolution, and things were changing, and things were being invented, and that's the energy, that's the spirit of Aquarius. It's about liberating ourselves from what we think is the max, like what we think is the limit, and finding creations and inventions to basically go past like what we perceive as reality. So it's very magical in that way, that like you're able to, when you invent something, basically you find a way, you find a solution to something, to create something or do something that was before impossible. So we can tap into Aquarius to liberate ourselves. Humanitarianism is a big one. Again, that connection to the greater whole. And again, it's about expressing yourself and your creative energy, which is Leo, which is the opposite of Aquarius. So there are two sides of the same coin, but it's about expressing your true self for the sake of everybody, for the sake of the whole. Dreams and wishes, also part of Aquarian energy field. It's about having a greater vision, having a wish within your heart, wishing upon a star, let's say, and wanting to make it real, wanting to bring truth to that. So your wishes come from a really deep place within ourselves, which is the stars, which is our, you know, our pure creative, pure universal consciousness being. That's who we are. This is quantum energy. It's all about just pure potential. And we know that most of the universe is made up of dark matter. Based on quantum physics, you know, there's so many amazing things that we can learn from quantum physics that, again, ruled by Aquarius. Science in general is ruled by Aquarius. And it's about taking that objective viewpoint to see like what's really happening here, you know, where we see the bigger picture, where we're not just like falling into the traps of the online business space and what other people are saying to us. We're not falling for it. We recognize that something much bigger is at play, and we're not afraid to go with that and to be like, wait, you know, let me look behind this curtain to see who the Wizard of Oz really is. You know what I mean? Chaos for the sake of creativity, very important. So Aquarius will often, and Uranus will come shake things up in a very like electrifying way, and just you know, revolutionize your reality, especially with like a Uranus transit, but for the sake of creativity, not for the sake of destruction, for the sake of being like, hey, wake up, you know, let's shake you up because you're in a slumber right now. You're being a zombie right now. You're just like following the motions, but like, I'm going to shake things up for you so that, you know, you realize that you have so much more potential and power. It's also, again, detachment and objectivity. It is an air sign, and it's a fixed air sign. And if you think about Aquarius in terms of the context of like the seasons, it's right in the dead middle of winter where nothing's going on. Like, we don't see growth, we don't see anything, and we don't, you know, right now, at least here in New York, it's like that really hard time of like just like sticking it out for the rest of the winter. But in this time, you know, we know that under the ground, the roots of the plants are, you know, they're resting up, they're getting their energy, they're doing their forces, the elementals are, you know, doing their work behind the scenes. So sometimes we have to take that really objective standpoint to see, you know, when life gets hard or when nothing's working in our business or when we don't see things actually yielding fruit yet. We have to take that detached viewpoint and we have to be able to say, I know that all of this is, you know, leading somewhere. I know that just past, you know, the horizon, soon spring will be coming. And it's a very great gift that we have from Aquarius to be able to do that, because otherwise we'd just be hot messes all the time. And again, that flash insight, which I believe comes from our zone of genius, when we are deeply connected to ourself and our mission, and also to the the collective. We are very much, you know, when we do that, I think that the universe shows us a lot of love. It's very pleasing to all of the spiritual forces because that's what we're here to do, and they will support us in that. They're not going to support us when we're doing what we're not here to be doing, when we're forcing things, when we're basically just wearing the mask of somebody else, because that's not our purpose. So you can look in your chart, check out, do you have any planets in Aquarius? You can also look and see if you have your rising, your descendant, your midheaven, and your Imam Kowali, if any of those are in Aquarius. You can also look to see if which house cusp Aquarius rules on your chart. I work with the whole sign houses now, so basically every house is ruled by a sign. So for me, Aquarius rules my 6th house, and that explains a lot, because I'm all about, you know, the 6th house is work and service, and I'm all about, you know, really revolutionizing that and, you know, making things different for people, like in that way. So actually, wait, I just realized I have Uranus in my 6th. Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant. Uranus is in my 6th house. We'll talk about that in one second. But if you look at your chart, I want you to look at where Aquarius is, which house cusp it's on, and these forces, as well as the planets that are in Aquarius in your chart, they're going to help you to activate your zone of genius when you call upon them, right? So let's say you have your rising sign is Aquarius, right? So you're going to naturally express this in the whole way of you carrying yourself, but don't be afraid to really show your true colors in the way that you dress, in the way that you like do your branding and things. If you have a business that is based on, you know, if you're a solopreneur and your whole business is basically an extension of you. So it's, you know, it's a very, very helpful guide, I would say, for helping us to wake up out of our zombie state and activate our zone of genius. Aquarius is such a powerful energy, and sometimes the forces of our chart and the forces within us are kind of like dormant until we bring consciousness to them, until we realize that they're there for us to work with in these ways. So like when I realized, for example, Uranus in my 6th. We'll talk about Uranus in a second. When I realized that I had that, you know, I actually started using it to my advantage. Like, I was no longer resisting the fact that I'm meant to be an astrologer, you know, because Uranus, of course, being ruled by Aquarius, being, you know, in resonance with Aquarius, it was such confirmation for me. And for a long time, I really doubted my role as an astrologer. I really doubted if that was okay for me because of my religious upbringing and things like that. And when I saw that, you know, it really, really emboldened me. It really gave me that permission, especially since Uranus is retrograde on my chart. You know, I really, it really began tuning into it. And, you know, I have Aquarius on my 8th house cusp with Jupiter inside of my 8th house. So to me, it was like having Jupiter in Aquarius definitely like amplifies my Aquarian, you know, energy. It makes me feel like I just want to go out there and share this with the world. I really just want to go out there and speak this. So Hannah, do you know offhand if you have any planets in Aquarius or any of your angles? And also which house Aquarius rules on your chart? If you want to chime in, I'd love to hear. So we're basically just getting a look here at, you know, all of the Aquarian and its associated energies on the chart. 11th house is ruled by Aquarius naturally. So you can also look at your 11th house and you can see do you have any planets inside of your 11th house? Maybe your sun is in the 11th house or your moon. Those are going to take on an Aquarian kind of tone by being in the 11th house. You also want to look at your north and south nodes. My north node is in the 11th house in the sign of Taurus. So, you know, I always like to look at the 11th house as basically another gateway, another portal to Aquarian energy. And lastly, you look at Uranus. Like I was saying before, you want to see what story is Uranus sharing through your chart. You know, what house is Uranus in? Is it in aspect to any other planets or angles? And this is also going to help you think outside the box and activate your inner rebel. Like I shared before with my story, you know, having Uranus retrograde in my 6th house, once I realized that, I knew that, you know, it is definitely part of my mission for sure to be, you know, shaking things up, to be a voice for Aquarian, you know, for the Aquarian ideal in this world through my work, through my everyday, through my service, through, you know, all 6th house related matters. So I really want you guys to explore that, play around with that. Again, just to reiterate, you're looking at Aquarius, you're looking at what planets you have in Aquarius, if any, looking at which house cusp is ruled by Aquarius in your chart, and any planets that are in Aquarius again, and you're also looking at your 11th house and the planet Uranus. Okay, so here's a few ways to activate or to be a genius in your new age business, genuinely expressing your natural insight of your unique soul.
With like with the
Ooh,
bell. No, with the shark bell.
Okay, can you just tell Abba because Mommy's doing her video now?
No. See, Adele did it.
Okay.
And she did it on purpose.
Okay, so you're okay now.
I don't want to go outside.
Okay, you want to sit with me while I finish up?
But take my shoes off.
Okay. It's always here. Okay, so question authority. Search and destroy anything in your business that does not resonate. And this is something that you can start doing right away. And it can be things that are, again, menial. It could be things that are... I'm always doing her class now, okay? It could be things that are big, like big things, like just what you're doing in your business in general. Or it could be things that you might not really think are so important. But again...
Mama! Stop it!
I'll be right back.
Mama, why do the wind?
So, sorry about that. So we want to, yes, seek and destroy anything that does not resonate. And like I said, all the things, all the time. We're getting really hardcore about this because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're spending too much time online, if you're not practicing good boundaries, and this is all, again, whatever works for you. There's no right way. It really takes a lot of self-trust and a lot of inner love to do this and to run a business in this way. You really want to push the envelope, try new things in your business, even if you think they'll be met with resistance, even if you think it's crazy, even if you think that nobody will like it. People are going to like it if you love it. People are going to like it if you are 100% behind it, which goes back again to that full self-confidence. If you know that you're doing exactly what you came here to be doing, just like Dr. Bronner, when he put those labels on his soap, even if at first people were like, what the heck? You know, he built a huge, huge business. It wasn't just a business. It wasn't just about the money. It's about a real change agent. His company is changing things on so many different levels. But imagine if he was just afraid of, what people would think, or, if he thought that just because everybody else was putting out like a really professional looking like label that was just like very boring and plain, if he had done that, how much would we be missing out on? So connecting with the whole, this is really important, and I've been definitely feeling called to do this, creating kind of like a collective with my business where I'm really just connecting with people who I feel resonance with. I do believe that our souls are in groups, and we have to really unite with those people who can support and whose work is in line with ours. And remember to always look at the bigger picture. Sometimes in our businesses, things don't work out the way we expected. And sometimes we don't see the results that, we wanted, or, we try to follow all the formulas and the rules and it's not working. So if you look at the bigger picture, if you kind of like zoom out your microscope to like huge, like seeing yourself as like a tiny speck, like floating around this huge universe, it's a great tool again that we have, that Aquarian perspective, that we can remember, why am I really here, and like what really matters to me, and the fact that it didn't work out, like that's probably most likely a message and a gift from the universe guiding me towards my truth. So above all, honor thy soul. This is the most Aquarian that you can get. Like, this is how the world will change. When we in our businesses really only do the things that we feel are honoring our souls and our bodies as well, and our whole life, our whole being, our whole truth. When that becomes the focal point, when that becomes the like mode of business, or the way we practice business, then the world, we're going to change the world with our businesses. Because if every person was to do that, if every entity, businesses are energetic beings, that's why businesses have birth charts too, like your brand, your business, it's energetic entity that is creating an effect in the world. And if everybody was to really honor themselves, and if we all every day take those steps to check in 1 to 10, am I really being in my zone of genius? Am I really expressing my truth? Am I really channeling my Aquarian essence, which is that I am, by virtue of being myself, I am enough. I am everything that I need and more, and I just need to share that. If we all were to do that, then every person would be, you know, how can I say this? Every single one of us would be inspiring each other and fulfilling our goals, versus, you know, trying to do things that really don't resonate, and that leads to just misalignment all around. And there's a ripple effect in everything that we do. So that concludes our business training. If you guys have any questions, especially watching the replay or maybe looking back when you're doing the astrology piece, totally post them here, because I think it'd be really fun to kind of continue this discussion and, you know, see how this plays out for all of us. And Hannah, if you have any questions now, I'd love to answer before we wrap up. If you have any thoughts or questions, or you know, things that have come up for you while I was speaking, I'd really love to hear it. Just go back to the beginning. Thank you, Hannah. That's so nice. I'm so glad you enjoyed. I'm going to post the slides because I feel like this is something, you know, you might want to look back on and just like maybe reflect on or whatever. But yeah, this was so fun for me to create, because again, it's like, this is my whole mission. So I kind of like killed two birds with one stone, even though I don't like that saying at all. I kind of like, you know, fulfilled two soul missions in one by doing this. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to spend the rest of the day with the kids and stuff. I hope you guys have a beautiful weekend, and if you have any questions, like I said, post on here in a comment and I will get back to you guys. Have a great day, Hannah. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.